When a heartless biker lashed out and struck out toward a homeless man's dog in a supermarket parking lot, he had no idea that Arnold Schwarzenegger had been quietly observing nearby. What began as an ordinary day, where the man was mostly overlooked, was about to become unforgettable for everyone present. A moment of cruelty was brewing, but destiny had other plans. Someone unexpected was about to step in at just the right time to change the course of events. But no one could have imagined that it would all end with a shocking revelation, an unexpected intervention by a star, and a moment that would have the whole town talking. The supermarket parking lot bustled with everyday activity. Shopping carts squeaked along as people, lost in their routines, rushed to check off their to-do lists. Off to the side, almost unnoticed, a homeless man sat quietly on the pavement. He held up a worn-out cardboard sign that read, "Help me and my best friend." Beside him, a dog with a patchy coat lay calmly, keeping watch on the world with quiet alertness. Every so often, the man would reach over and gently stroke the dog's back, receiving a small wag of the tail in return, a simple gesture filled with loyalty. Their connection ran deeper than words ever could. Nearly a month back, during one of the harshest, loneliest nights he'd faced, the man believed he might not make it through till morning. He had no shelter, was burning up with fever, and utterly worn down, slumped in that very same spot, close to giving up. Then, as if by some small miracle, the dog appeared. It didn't bark or make a scene. It simply lay beside him, its body offering warmth, and its presence whispering in its own way, "You're not alone." By the time the sun came up, the fever had eased, and something within the man had shifted. From earlier that sunrise forward, both were never apart. This dog wasn't just a companion, it had become the very reason he still had the strength to keep going. So there they were, tucked away in their usual quiet corner, continuing their routine while the rest of the world moved past, unaware. But then, in a split second, something unexpected happened. The thunderous sound of a motorcycle engine tore through the parking lot, instantly grabbing everyone's attention. The bike came to a sudden halt, the engine still rumbling, and the air around them shifted with tension. A heavy, unsettling presence was approaching, ready to burst the fragile peace in that secluded corner. As the engine cut off, the silence that followed was filled with unease, like the calm before a storm. A tall, broad figure climbed off the bike, his boots thudding against the asphalt. He wore a battered leather jacket and pulled off his helmet, revealing a rugged face twisted in a cold, unsettling smile. His eyes scanned the area until they locked onto the man and his dog. Slowly, he began to walk toward them, his every step landing with the weight of a countdown. He seemed to enjoy the discomfort he stirred, noticing how bystanders quickly looked away to avoid his gaze. Stopping just a few steps from the homeless man, he tilted his head and gave a dry, mocking laugh. "Well, would you look at this little scene," he sneered. "A bum and his mutt, bet the dog's worth more than you are." The man, still seated, glanced up briefly, then lowered his eyes again to avoid conflict. His hands clenched the cardboard sign more tightly. The dog growled low, instinctively positioning itself between the man and the biker. "What's the problem, dog?" the biker said mockingly, leaning in slightly like he was speaking to the animal. "Gonna bite me? Trying to protect your worthless owner? Probably the only one in the world who cares about him. Please, just leave us alone," the man whispered, his voice barely audible, soaked in desperation. He reached out, gently holding onto the dog as though to shield it. "Leave you alone," the biker repeated with a laugh, stepping closer. "You two don't belong here. This is a parking lot, not a trash heap. People like you are just in the way." The man opened his mouth to speak, but no words came. He bowed his head, his hand still on the dog, which now bared its teeth in warning, only provoking the biker further. "Look at that," he said, taunting. "It thinks it's tough. I bet it doesn't even know how to bark right. Just like you, a sad excuse for a man, and that thing's no better." He made a sudden move toward the dog, causing it to recoil. The dog recoiled instinctively, and the man cried out, "No. Please, leave him alone." The biker stood up straight again, laughing cruelly. "Please, leave him alone," he echoed. "Maybe teach your mutt to show respect to those who run the place." The tension thickened, and the look on the biker's face turned darker. He took one more step forward, his shadow now fully cast over the man and his dog. That smirk on his face made it clear, he was about to do something terrible. But before he could make another move, a voice rang out. "Enough," said a man, his tone steady and commanding. Everyone in the lot stopped in place, turning their eyes toward the one who had spoken. There was something quiet yet powerful in the way he stood, calm on the outside, but clearly not someone to be taken lightly. And with that, the course of events began to shift in an unexpected and unforgettable way. The firm voice rang out across the parking lot, slicing through the noise and drawing an abrupt silence. People who had previously turned a blind eye now shifted their attention, curious about the source of such commanding presence. The biker whipped around, his face contorting from smugness to an irritated scowl. He narrowed his eyes, scanning the area to figure out who had dared to interrupt. From between the parked cars, a man emerged, walking toward the disturbance with quiet composure. Even those unfamiliar with Hollywood couldn't mistake the face. It was Arnold Schwarzenegger, simple in appearance, wearing dark jeans, a black tee, and a lightweight leather jacket. Each step he took was deliberate. His face was calm, serious, but not aggressive. He stopped a few meters away, fixing his gaze on the biker without flinching. "Do you think this is okay?" Arnold asked, his voice low but carrying the kind of weight that made the biker pause. "And who do you think you are?" the biker snapped back, his tone laced with defiance as he tried to hide his surprise. A forced chuckle escaped him. "Oh right, the big movie hero come to teach us a lesson. Unbelievable." But Arnold didn't bite. He stepped in closer, brushing off the taunt. "This isn't about me," he said evenly. "It's about what you're doing to them," he added, motioning toward the homeless man and his dog, still crouched together on the pavement. "They don't belong here," the biker barked, raising his voice to mask the unraveling control. "They're just taking up space here." Arnold tilted his head, studying the man's face with calm precision. "And you think lashing out at someone defenseless proves something?" he asked. "Or is it just showing us who you really are?" The biker took a bold step forward, puffing up his chest to appear more intimidating. "Spare me the lecture," he sneered. "You might be famous in movies, but out here, you're just another guy." Arnold stood his ground. "And you're just another man carrying too much anger," he said quietly. "But that anger doesn't give you the right to hurt others." His gaze dropped momentarily to the bottle partly hidden behind the biker's leg. "You shouldn't be riding in that condition." The words hit hard. The biker flinched, caught off guard, then quickly tried to cover the stumble. "You don't know anything about me," he shouted defensively. "Maybe not," Arnold replied, unshaken. "But from what everyone's seeing right now, we've already learned more than enough." Around them, the crowd began murmuring. The mood shifted. Pressure built. The biker sensed it slipping beyond his control. Fists clenched, jaw tight, he stood torn, caught between escalating or retreating. Before he could act, Arnold stepped even closer, locking eyes with him, his presence calm yet deeply commanding. "So, what's it going to be?" Arnold asked, voice firm, unwavering. The biker's breathing grew heavier as he stared Arnold down, trying to read the man who had so confidently stood in his way. The tension between them grew thick, pressing in from all sides. By now, the crowd had grown. Murmurs turned into hushed comments of support. Several bystanders lifted their phones, beginning to record what was quickly turning into a public showdown. Seeing the cameras aimed at him, the biker clenched his jaw, visibly seething. "Oh, so you want to humiliate me in front of everyone?" he bellowed, jabbing a finger in Arnold's direction. "You think just because you're a movie star, you can do whatever you want?" But Arnold didn't react. His hands remained calmly at his sides. "I'm not here to embarrass you," he said plainly. "I'm here to stop you from doing something you'll regret." The biker let out a bitter, mocking laugh. "Regret?" he scoffed. "Easy for you to talk about regret when you've got millions to fall back on. People like you don't know what it's like to crawl through rock bottom." Arnold's gaze didn't waver. He tilted his head slightly and responded with quiet resolve. "The anger you're carrying, it has nothing to do with me, or with him," he said, motioning again toward the man on the ground. "It's coming from inside you. And right now, you're just passing it on to people who don't deserve it." For the briefest moment, something shifted in the biker's eyes. He looked away, and his posture seemed to soften. But the moment passed, and he quickly raised his voice again, trying to reclaim control. "You don't know anything about me," he shouted, pointing a finger straight at Arnold. "You think you're a hero, standing up for anyone in need? You're a joke." Arnold took another quiet step forward, now just a few feet from him. When he spoke again, his tone was lower, but even more grounded. "What you choose to do right now, that's going to define you," he said. "Harming those who can't fight back won't heal whatever's broken inside you. All it does is spread more pain, yours and theirs." Not a sound came from the crowd. Every eye was locked on them. The entire lot held its breath. Even the homeless man, who had kept his gaze low the entire time, finally looked up, his eyes meeting Arnold's, as if spotting a faint glimmer of hope. The biker glanced around, taking in the silent, disapproving stares from the crowd. He clenched his fists, clearly caught in the struggle between backing down and lashing out. Then, without warning, he bent over and snatched a bottle from the ground. Rage filled his eyes as he locked onto Arnold. The entire parking lot seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the next move. With trembling fingers, the biker gripped the bottle, his eyes still fixed on Arnold. His breathing was labored, as though an internal storm was tearing him apart. He looked ready to erupt, but beneath the fury, a flicker of doubt surfaced, just enough to give pause. "You think you can take me?" he finally bellowed, raising the bottle in a threatening gesture. "You think you're better than me just because they're all backing you?" Arnold didn't flinch. His gaze remained steady. "This isn't about sides," he answered calmly. "It's about doing what's right. And what you're doing, it's not just wrong. It's reckless. For you, for them, for anyone who crosses your path." Something in Arnold's tone struck a nerve. The biker's grip tightened, but he still didn't make a move. The onlookers seemed frozen, the entire moment suspended in silence. "You don't know anything about me," the biker shouted again, his voice now ragged. "You have no idea what I've been through, what I've lost. Don't talk to me about right and wrong." Arnold stepped in closer, narrowing the distance between them. The strong smell of alcohol hit him as he approached. "Maybe I don't," he said softly, almost in a whisper. "But I can see you're lost. And what you're doing now won't bring anything back. It'll only drag you further down." The biker took a small step backward, as though Arnold's words had managed to crack something in his armor. His eyes dropped to the bottle, his expression flickering between anger and uncertainty. Then, as if trying to reassert control, he lifted the bottle a bit higher and stared Arnold down. "If you really think you can stop me, then go ahead," he challenged, a crooked smirk forming on his face. But before he could act, something unexpected pierced the tension. A sharp whistle rang out across the lot, loud and jarring. Heads turned in unison toward the sound, unaware of the twist that was about to unfold. The shrill whistle sliced through the moment like a spark in the dark. The biker jerked his head toward the noise, annoyance flashing across his face. Arnold turned too, scanning for the source. From across the lot, an older man approached, dressed plainly in a worn security uniform. Despite his modest appearance, there was an undeniable confidence in his stride. He stopped a few feet away, arms crossed, taking in the scene. "Hey, you," the guard called out, voice deep but firm. "Put it down." He nodded at the bottle. "Who do you think you are?" the biker snapped, clearly irritated by the intrusion. "Back off. This doesn't concern you." "It does now," the guard replied, his voice unwavering. "You're not in the right state of mind, and you're scaring people, and you're causing a scene." "I'm not turning a blind eye." The biker gave a shaky laugh, but tension radiated from his body. He looked around and realized the crowd had only grown. More phones were out, ready to record everything. The pressure was mounting fast. Arnold took the chance to speak again, stepping forward and drawing the biker's attention. "It's not too late," he said quietly. "Just put it down and walk away. You don't have to go through with this. You have a choice." The biker's grip tightened until his knuckles turned pale. His eyes darted between the guard, Arnold, and the homeless man, who now cradled his dog protectively. He looked on the verge of snapping, but something kept him from moving. "This is all a joke," he muttered, voice shaking. "You all think you're better than me. You think you can judge me, but I won't let that happen." He lifted the bottle slightly again, as if to prove something, either to himself or the watching crowd. But before he could act, another surprise broke the silence. The dog, quiet until now, let out a sudden, sharp bark that echoed through the lot. The biker froze, his hand midair. All eyes turned to the small dog, who stood firmly, staring at him with defiant resolve. Despite its size, the dog radiated courage, as if it refused to let things go any further. And in that split second, the energy of the moment shifted once more. The bark rang out like a challenge, clear and bold. Though small and fragile-looking, the dog didn't waver. It stood its ground, locking eyes with the biker, unafraid. The biker stood stunned, sneering down at the animal. "That dog? You've got to be kidding me," he growled, still clutching the bottle. Arnold stepped closer. "It's more than just a dog," he said calmly. "It's a friend. And right now, it's showing more bravery than most." A quiet wave of murmurs rose from the crowd, soft voices urging, "Leave them alone." The biker's frustration was growing more visible. He looked around, uneasy at the number of eyes now fixed on him. "You think my life's been easy?" he yelled, his voice raw with anger and hurt. He jabbed a finger toward the homeless man. "That guy shouldn't even be here." Arnold, now just a few feet away, answered with calm steadiness. "Maybe this is the only place he has," he said gently. "Maybe that dog is all he's got. But hurting them doesn't solve anything. It just adds more pain to the world." The biker stood still, Arnold's words seeming to strike something deep within. Slowly, his grip on the bottle loosened, and his shoulders sagged as though the weight of it all finally became too much. Without a word, he turned and walked to his motorcycle. He paused, then muttered under his breath, "I'm just tired." With that, he climbed on and rode off, leaving behind a crowd that now stood quieter, more contemplative. Arnold crouched beside the homeless man and his dog. "You all right?" he asked softly. The man nodded, tears in his eyes. "Thank you," he whispered. Arnold reached into his pocket and handed over a small card. "There's a clinic on here, take your dog. They'll take care of him. And they'll help you too." The man clutched the card tightly, his gratitude clear and overwhelming. As Arnold began to walk away, gentle applause spread through the crowd. The man wrapped his arms around his dog, holding him close, an image of hope standing firm in the face of hardship. Sometimes, the smallest acts of kindness leave the biggest impact. Never underestimate the strength of compassion, whether it comes from a stranger, or a loyal dog by your side. If this story touched you, don't stop here, there's more to discover. Click to watch more inspiring moments of hope and resilience.